Hello, Orbis here, and welcome to another edition of Ranking the Tracks on Albums. And today we're going to be doing Let It Be by the Beatles, and this will be the last Beatles one I'll be doing, because obviously Let It Be was the last Beatles album that got released, although in my head I don't really think of it as the last Beatles album, because most of it was recorded and written before Abbey Road was released. So Abbey Road really is, in my head, it's like it's the true final Beatles album, even though it wasn't the last one released. But yes, so Let It Be. I think it's not as good as some of the other albums that they're releasing around in the later years, but it has some classics on it, and it's still a really good album because of course it's a Beatles album. So at the bottom I've put Dig It, which I barely even really count as a song. I mean, it's so brief. It just comes from this jam session that they did during the Get Back sessions, and it exists. And then I put Maggie May, which I put higher just because I guess it's an actual song. Next up I put One After 909, which I believe was one that was written quite a few years before trying to record Let It Be. I think it was recorded around, I don't know, like Beatles for Sale era, around that time, and it got brought back up for these sessions. And it's a great song. I guess it's just lower because it has a less original feel to it, I don't know. Next up I've put For You Blue, which is a George Harrison track. And it's pretty good, but I feel like George Harrison's songs on this album don't really compare to his songs on Abbey Road, which is why I say it's Abbey Road where George Harrison fully became as good of a songwriter as John Lennon and Paul McCartney. Next up I put Dig a Pony, which is just fantastic. Next up is I Me Mine, which is another George Harrison track, with some great vocals from George Harrison, especially on the verses. Next up I've put Two of Us, which I just love because it's just like it just makes me think of just a really close, wholesome friendship. I always think of it as just like a song about John Lennon and Paul McCartney's friendship, and it's nice. Their vocals work well together, of course. Next up I've put I've Got a Feeling, which is one of the best tracks on the album. It's one that Paul McCartney still plays a lot in concerts, and I like the one he did in Glastonbury where they got John Lennon, the footage of John Lennon from the rooftop session, and had him sing alongside him. That was very nice. Next up I've put The Long and Winding Road, which is just a beautiful song. Very I like the lyrics. They're very, very melancholic. And next up we're in the top three now, so number 3 is Let It Be, the title track, which is probably the most famous song on the album. It's a piano based one sung by Paul McCartney, and it's one of his classics, one of the best Beatles songs, I suppose. I mean, it's not my favourite on the album, but I can see why it's a classic. And number 2, I've put Get Back, which is I think it's just one of the best Beatles singles. It's fantastically enjoyable, and I think I love it even more because of the Get Back documentary. That scene where Paul McCartney, you literally watch Paul McCartney come up with the song on the spot. It's amazing. I think it's one of the greatest videos ever recorded in human history. It's just amazing. And number 1, I've put Across the Universe. I've always loved this song. I think this song is a masterpiece. It's one of John Lennon's finest accomplishments. I mean, lyrically, I think this is probably my favourite John Lennon song lyrically. I think it's amazing, really poetic, and it's just got a really beautiful, otherworldly feel to it. It's beyond words. So there we have it. That's my ranking of every track on the Let It Be album. So let me know your thoughts on what your ranking would be. And I suppose this is the last of these I'm going to be doing. So yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.